Welcome to week 5 of Wake Up Productive. Congratulations, you've now completed your first 4 weeks of the program, and by now you should have your personal success ritual firmly rooted into the beginning of your day. You should be waking up every day and spending the first 90 minutes or so making yourself strong and healthy and getting yourself centered. For the next 4 weeks here, we're going to make a big transition, and we're going to switch from focusing on the inner game of productivity and on your personal success ritual to the outer game of productivity and getting into what we might call the zone at work. So we're going to start a new ritual during this session. I call it the 60-60-30 solution, and it's a format, a methodology, an approach to managing your time and your focus at work in order to get the most results. So earlier in the Wake Up Productive program, we've talked about these states that we get into where we feel really good, we feel really productive. I want to dig into that a little bit more and explain to you why we're going to use the 60-60-30 solution before I explain to you what it is. The bottom line is, when we're working, we want to feel good about what we're doing. And we've learned about the 3 brains, right? The physical brain, the emotional brain, and the mental or the logical brain. We want all of them to be engaged. We want them to all be involved. We want all of them to be getting some kind of satisfaction on a daily basis. Because let's face it, if we're doing work that we don't enjoy and it's too stressful for us, we don't get to do the things that we're good at, and we just don't feel good about what we're doing, we're not going to be on purpose, we're not going to be focused, and we're not going to be productive. So let's revisit a few of these key states. Physically, star athletes have a state that they get into that they call the zone. There was even a book that was written, it was a book about diet and nutrition basically, called Enter the Zone. And what he suggested in that book was that there was a way that you can eat so that you can feel physically like you're in the zone all the time, right? You can balance your blood sugar and so forth to give yourself the basic building blocks of it. And if you play sports, then you probably know that you can get into the groove sometimes where you just feel like you're totally in the moment, you're totally present, you're totally there, and you're physically in flow, you're just involved. That's that state that we call the zone, right? You're totally energized. Well, there's an emotional component as well, all right? And emotionally, most people who are working, they don't think, well, I should involve my emotions in my work. Some people are savvy enough to understand that whenever you're dealing with other people, the more you can involve your emotions and you can use them and integrate them into your life, the better you're going to do. Most people don't think of work as an emotional game. But bottom line is, if you're not emotionally flowing as well, if you're not emotionally synchronized with other people and in rapport with others and working on the same page with others, you're going to feel a little bit of a disconnect, you're going to feel some friction, and things aren't going to be as optimal as they possibly could. Now, you've also heard me use the word flow or the flow state, and a guy named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi wrote a great book called Flow that I talk about a lot. And he talks about the state of what he calls optimal experience, where you're just mentally completely involved in something. And I think of the flow state as being primarily a mental thing, but it also involves all of the other brains or the other levels of experience, right? In fact, all of these kind of run together, but this is just a useful distinction. But that flow state is when we feel entirely engaged in something mentally, psychologically, where we're using our mental skill to achieve results, to solve problems, to figure things out, right? It's important to be in that state where we feel challenged, we feel like we're using our mental talents. And then above and, maybe wrapped around all of these are what you might call our higher purpose, right? Or maybe the spirit level of this whole thing, where we're not only engaged in the moment, we're not only physically in the zone, we're not only emotionally in tune with others and in the flow and in rapport with ourselves, and we're not only in psychological flow of optimal experience, but we're also pointing all of that stuff in a direction that is the purpose of our life. We're contributing to something bigger than we are. If you align all of those things, and we'll be talking more about this a little bit later in the program, I think that you can have some very, very productive feeling days and weeks and months and years of your life. And if one of those things is kind of out of kilter, then I think that you're gonna wind up feeling not as fulfilled, not as productive. Things aren't going to be working out so well. Now, it's taken me a long time to find those different elements that I just described to you and be able to just say them in succinct, brief, clear terms. And as I've discovered them and I've tried to integrate them into my life, I've discovered that trying to fit all of these together and make it work so that you're fulfilled on all levels is sometimes a real challenge. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes, especially if one of them is your strength, like maybe you're a very physically talented person, so you're always focused on the physical and doing things and making things happen in the physical world, and you neglect the emotional side or the intellectual side or being on purpose. You can wake up after years or decades of that and think, what have I accomplished? I accomplished a couple of things physically, but I don't feel good about what I did. Or intellectually, you can think about things and you can work things out in your mind, but if you never communicate with others, or you don't get them done in the real world, or you don't put them to use toward a higher purpose, you can get to the end of your life and be unfulfilled, essentially. And that's not what we want to do. So as I've tried to put all these pieces together and take a lot of the different techniques that I've learned, I've come up with this kind of a packages of time to use during the day that I call the 60-60-30 solution. And I want you to know that it's not just an arbitrarily chosen set of blocks of time, that the reason that I've set it up this way is actually to help you connect all of the different levels of your own performance, of your own contribution, of your own talent and skill, put them all together and use them every day. And get to the end of each day and look back and say, wow, that was a very productive day. I really managed myself and my time well, and I really produced a lot of results that I feel good about. Now, one last key piece that I want to insert here is the idea that our body has a natural rhythm to it. It actually has a whole bunch of different rhythms, potentially hundreds of them. Everything from the speed of your breathing, to the beating of your heart, to the waking and sleeping cycle. There are all of these cycles that are happening inside of your body. And there's an important cycle that Ernest Rossi talks about in his book, The 20-Minute Break. Tony Schwartz, who wrote The Powerful Engagement, also goes into this cycle a lot. It's called the ultradian cycle. And this is a cycle that lasts anywhere from about 90 to 120 minutes. And throughout the day, this is the way that our bodies and emotions and minds work. We go through a cycle where we feel energized for about 90 to 120 minutes, and then we feel kind of a little bit less energized. We feel like we want to take a break, like we want to relax. And this is the body's natural cycle of expending energy and then renewing energy and recovering. Now, one of the unfortunate problems that comes up a lot in our modern day is that when we feel our body getting a little bit tired or we feel a little loss of energy, instead of relaxing and letting our body renew and recover the way it's naturally designed to do, what we do is we go drink coffee, or we eat a candy bar, or we eat some sugar, and we try to spike ourselves a little bit and squeeze a little bit of energy out of ourselves. And this is bad because it taxes us, right? Instead of relaxing and after 10 or 20 minutes recovering and feeling, okay, my energy is renewed, I can go focus again, we don't relax and we just squeeze that energy out and we tax our adrenal system. And we wake up after doing this for several months or years, and we just feel chronically burned out, and we've got nothing more to give, and we have to, drink more caffeine and eat more sugar just to get up to, where we feel like we can be awake. So by honoring this natural cycle of expending energy and then renewing and recovering, we can get massive, massive benefit. So let me explain what the 60-60-30 solution is, and then we'll go into some of the details, and I'll show you how these different components that I just explained fit in, and how we can use the 60-60-30 solution to integrate and really get the results that we want. So in short, 60-60-30 is, it simply stands for 60 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes. And the idea here is we want to use 60-minute chunks of time to focus on single activities or single projects or single problems that we're working out with our mind. We want to have single-minded focus for a minimum of 60 minutes. And ideally, you'd have a single-minded focus for two 60-minute chunks. So you'd actually use both of those 60-minute chunks in the 60-60-30. And then the 30-minute chunk is for recovery and renewal. And so ideally what you'd do is you'd work for 60 minutes, you'd relax for just a moment, you'd work for another 60 minutes, you'd relax for just a moment, and then you'd take 30 minutes where you'd have a small meal, and then maybe take 20 minutes where you just completely chill out, zone out, relax, distract yourself, and just allow your body, mind, and emotions to recover. And what I found is that if you can work in these cycles, and I found that if I work in these cycles, I can become much, much more productive. I'm talking about multiplying my productivity by 100% or 200%, right? Quadrupling my productivity. Right now, I'm using this system probably 60 to 80% of the time, and I'm more productive than I've ever been in my entire life. And I feel more energized, and just everything about my life is better because I'm organizing my life into these rituals of 60-60-30. So let's delve a little deeper into 60-60-30 and how it works and why it allows you to accomplish this feat of productivity. Whereas just doing things willy-nilly or as they come to you, or just attacking the day and dealing with the emergencies and the firefighting as they show up, why it's so much more productive. Well, you remember what I said a moment ago about Ernest Rossi and the 20-minute break and the ultradian rhythm. Well, if you don't honor your body's renewal cycle, its built-in recovery cycle, and you just work right through that period when you could have been renewing, you're going to be burning your reserves, and you're going to be burning inefficiently. You're going to be burning your willpower, which we've found is very, very important to us. And you're also going to be actually damaging the system that allows you to renew. So one of the benefits you get when you work in the 60-60-30s is every 120 minutes, every 2 hours, you are forcing yourself, in effect, you're taking a mandatory 30-minute recovery and renewal break. Okay, so that's one very important element of this, is the body's fundamental system for renewing and recovering, and we're honoring that and we're building that right into the system. Another piece that I've woven in here is the idea that every 2.5 hours you're having a small meal. Now, if you've studied nutrition, what you've probably found, and I'm not a nutritionist, so you're going to want to check with your health professional on this one, but if you've studied nutrition and you've experimented with it in your own life, as I have a lot, what you'll find is, or what you've probably found, is that eating smaller meals throughout the day works a lot better, and having individual meals and not doing a lot of snacking. So having a 300 or 400 calorie meal every 2.5 hours, like clockwork, keeps your blood sugar stable. And then if you add to that 30 minutes before the meal, drink a ½ liter of water, right, when your stomach is the most empty, and it can cleanse your system and ready you for that food, then you're really optimizing things. And when you work in a 60-60-30 cycle, what it does is it kind of gets you naturally into the groove where you're doing these things, right? And it gets your body into that natural rhythm. And guess what happens when you eat a small meal, good, healthy, nutritious meal every 2.5 hours? You drink a ½ liter of water every 2.5 hours. Again, very, very separate from each other and very intentionally. And then you take a 30-minute break every 2.5 hours where you're relaxing, zoning out, letting your body recover. What do you think happens? Exactly. You get into the physical zone. Your body is working in an optimal energy environment, so you have physical energy all the time. Now, this isn't, the entire equation. You got to get enough sleep, and you got to remove stress from your life, and you've got to do other things. But this one piece can actually act as the foundation or the bedrock of work productivity. Okay, you're making your body energetic, and you're honoring your body's natural energy cycle, both with food and water and with relaxation and recovery. So that's one element of 60-60-30 that's very critical to understand. Next, let's talk a little bit more about the intellectual or the focused element. In the 60s, right, what we actually do is we break the 60 into 50-10. So it's 50 minutes focused on one task, and then it's a little short 10-minute mini break. Now what I do is I actually have a little digital timer. And I keep these around my house. I keep a bunch of them. You can buy digital timers online for $5 or $10 on Amazon.com and key in the minutes. This one's a nap timer. You can press the button and it puts it in 15-minute increments. I use one of these and I program it for 50 minutes, and then I just set it up next to me, kind of, on the side, out of sight, so I'm not really paying attention to it. And what it does is it reminds me at the end of 50 minutes, hey, you've been focused for 50 minutes. Now, it also has another very counterintuitive effect. See, I never would have imagined myself as someone that would enjoy working with a time clock. In other words, like, I'm working at home to avoid punching in and punching out, so I don't have a time clock. The idea that I would bring one into my work environment and regiment myself, it just doesn't make intuitive sense. But I found something very powerful here. It took me years to figure this out, and I really encourage you to try this. When I set my little timer for 50 minutes, and then I put it down on the side, and I don't pay any attention to it, it actually frees me, because I know that I can focus on something for 50 minutes. I know that I can wait 50 minutes to check my email, look at my phone, answer the calls that are coming in, whatever. I know that everything will survive for at least 50 minutes. And then at the end of 50 minutes, I actually don't want to go check that stuff. What I want to do is recover and renew. And so what I do is I use my little timer, I set it for 50 minutes, work for 50 minutes, and then when it beeps, I set it for 10 minutes so that I don't go too long on my little mini break. And I go stretch, move around. I actually work standing up. My desk that I have just actually over in another part of the room here that you can't see is one of these tables that I can stand at with my computer. Okay, so I work standing up, and I have another station set up in my apartment where I live so that I can work standing up with my laptop. And I find that that's better for my back, and it helps you sleep better, and it's just very good for you to work standing up. It's very ergonomic, very healthy for your body. Again, check with your health professional on that one, because I'm not a health advisor, but I found that it really works for me. So I'm standing up, I'm working. At the end of 50 minutes, it beeps. I put it on for 10, I leave. Now I might go lay down and stretch my back out. If it's, maybe if I'm a little bit thirsty, I might have a little sip of water. I might do some breathing exercises, maybe a couple of minutes of just closing my eyes and relaxing and zoning out, letting my brain get a little bit of altitude and chill for a moment. I might go read a magazine for 5 minutes, just something to get completely away from what I was doing and relax for a couple of minutes. Okay, the all important recovery breaks. And then I come back in when it beeps again, and I put it on 50 minutes, and I work for another 50-minute chunk of time. And then I take that last 10 minutes afterwards, and I take another quick little break. So then I've got that full 30 minutes to have a small meal and just completely zone out. Another thing that I often do is in the middle of the day, I try to take a 20-minute nap. And 20 minutes almost sounds too short to take a nap. And the truth is that I actually don't fall asleep most of the time when I take a 20-minute nap. And if I do, it's for the last like 3 or 5 minutes. But what I do is I just lay down and I close my eyes and I put my little timer on for 20 minutes. And I can just relax completely, knowing that I'm not going to fall into some weird deep sleep and forget about everything, and I'm going to be able to recover. There are many interesting figures from history that took brief naps, and I'll just tell you about one of them. Winston Churchill, every day during the war, during World War II, he would lay down and take a nap. And he actually said that he would have never had the focus and the energy to have made it through that war had it not been for napping every day. So I really believe in, at least once in the afternoon, maybe middle of the day, try to take a 20-minute nap. And you'll find that if you'll, work with this process of 60 minutes, right, a 50-10, where you got 50 minutes of focus, 10 minutes of relax, chill out, stretch, move your body around. It's important to get that body into motion. Then 50 minutes, 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, small meal, and chill out for 20 minutes. What this will do is it will give your mind the raw materials and the cycle that it needs to be optimally focused during those 50-minute focus chunks. And I think what you'll find is with that focus, when you're working without interruption, right, in those 50-minute chunks, and when you've got the energy and the mental clarity and you're working on one thing and hey, I'm not going to be working on this forever, but I'm going to be working on it for 50 minutes right now, that you'll get twice as much done, or you'll get 4 times as much done. It's very, very powerful. And when you combine all of these together, all of these rhythms, and you become conscious of them, of your body's natural rhythm where it wants to expend and then recover energy, you'll even find that your emotional cycles tune into this, right? You start syncing up your whole body, your mental energy. You focus for 50 minutes, you take a 10-minute break. You focus for 50 minutes, you take a 10-minute break. You have a small meal. You relax, you get the drinking of the water, you get that ½ liter of water in there 30 minutes before you eat your meal. Everything starts to become a rhythm in your life. And after doing this, I'm going to recommend that you do it for the next 30 days, that this be the next intentional, conscious routine or ritual that we put in place for this next 30 days. I think what you'll find is that you'll naturally be doing it. Okay, it'll be natural to use the timer. It'll be natural. You'll start to feel, hey, you know what? I'm starting to get hungry. I'm getting ready for that next small meal. And when you take your break, instead of immediately going and checking your email, you'll realize, oh, that's right. I should relax right now. I should just take a moment and allow my system to recover so that when I come back, I can check my email and I'll be in much, much better shape. So the 60-60-30 solution. That's the name of the game here. That's the ritual that we're going to be putting in place for the next 30 days. And we're going to be doing that at work. And I'm going to give you some pointers for doing it right now. So let's do an exercise and install the 60-60-30 solution into your workday. If you're going to be doing a series of focused sessions that really leverage and optimize your productivity, where do you think the best place in your day is to insert this and to do it? The beginning of the day, of course. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to plan to start using the first 2.5 hours of every workday from the beginning of your work and install the 60-60-30 solution right into that first 2.5 hours. Okay, we're just going to spend the first 2.5 hours of the day working this way because this is a new ritual, a new routine. We don't want to change too much. We don't want to try and do your whole day this way and mess up everything that you do. We just want to get it in for the first session of the day. A little hint here, work on your biggest opportunities. Work on the thing that makes you the most money. Work on whatever it is that will produce the most results in your business with these first 2 50-minute chunks that you're going to work focused. But anyway, here's the homework. Get yourself a little timer. I've got like 3 or 4 different kinds of these timers that are kind of laying all around for me, so there's always one handy. You can go get one of those kitchen timers, the old style one where you turn the thing and it goes ding at the end. Doesn't matter what kind of timer you get. I've got one that's pretty cool that I think I paid $10 for that's got a keypad so you can put in the exact number of minutes and press start. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can go down to the drugstore and buy one for a few bucks, or you can order one online, but get yourself a timer. Very important that you get the timer and you use the timer. Even if you don't use it long term, you need to use it for the first 30, 60, 90 days or so to start training yourself in the rhythm. Now, I've been doing this for a while and I still use the timer, and I highly recommend that you use it, but you got to get the timer and you got to try it out. And instead of thinking of it as something that's constraining you, think of it as something that's freeing you. That when you sit down, you're going to work for 50 minutes on something, or you stand up and you're going to work for 50 minutes on something, that you're free for that 50 minutes to just focus on that one opportunity without distraction, without interruption, and without multitasking, without doing any of that stuff that wastes your time. And we're going to get that timer. The next thing that you're going to do after you've scheduled that 2.5 hour chunk at the beginning of your workday and you've gotten your timer is you're going to plan out in detail how you're going to use that time. Okay, so like I said before, I recommend you use the first 2 50-minute chunks on your biggest opportunity. Plan out what you're going to do with those sessions. Identify where the high leverage is. We're going to talk more about this later in the future of the program, but just get started. Start building the muscle of saying, okay, where's my biggest opportunity? I should spend those 2 50-minute chunks on that. The next part you want to plan out is what is that meal going to be that you eat when you take your 30-minute break. Ideally, you've been doing your personal success ritual at the beginning of your day every day now, and you've got 90 minutes to 120 minutes of making yourself strong and powerful and focused and clear, so when you come to work, whether that's at home or in an office, when you arrive, you can sit down and you can get right into your focused blocks of time. I recommend that you don't check your email and voicemail messages and do all that stuff, because what that does is it puts you in reactive mode. It gets you reacting to other people's agendas and what they want from you. Don't do that. Spend that first 2.5 hours totally focused on you, your biggest opportunity, and your focus time. And then, when you relax, you're going to have your meal planned. So you've eaten a really strong, healthy meal at the beginning of the day in your personal success ritual, right? Hopefully as close to raw, organic, and highly nutritious as possible. And then you'll have your second meal planned for that first break. And you may need to bring the meal with you or prepare it. You don't want to leave this one to chance. If you will have your first healthy meal during your personal success ritual, and then you'll plan that second healthy meal for your 30-minute break, and then you'll relax for 20 or so minutes after, just that little window of a few hours at the beginning of your day with the personal success ritual and the first healthy meal, and then the 60-60-30 focused on your biggest opportunity and that second really nutritious meal and that break, you can accomplish more in those few hours than most people accomplish all day. So now you know your homework. Get yourself a little timer, lay out and plan exactly how you're going to fit that 2.5 hour chunk into your day, when it's going to start. Make sure and take a little break, do 50 minutes and then 10 minutes, take those little breaks. Have your meal planned for the 30-minute chunk, and start doing that every single day. Install the 60-60-30 solution as your first work session, the first 2.5 hours of your workday. Focus those two blocks, those two 50-minute blocks on your biggest opportunity. Have a planned 30-minute break, eat a healthy meal, and make sure you chill out and relax for that next 20 minutes, and come back next week and we're going to take this to the next level.